Peace, family. Um, I am to address. I have to address the question I posed in the group, if of whether we are now ready or in the place to justify why we pray looking to the east, whether on your personal time or at church. Also, whether we could now justify if it will be in righteousness or acceptable to pray looking west. Will it be okay? Will it be acceptable? Will you feel okay if you were to pray looking to the west? I had already thought about the 4 patterns of decision making. B, which are say, feel, do, and be. And these 4 directions also, we added the 4 directions of the earth, being the east, west, east, south, west, and north, and what they represent in holiness or before the Father. Before I go there, let me just read a little bit. I'm in the book of Remembrance of Melchizedek. This is Melchizedek chapter 1, verse, I'll read from the bold statement of verse 15. And it is very important to understand the vision clearly for the sake of the people of my right hand, as they enter more fully to undergo the conditions of the tribulations. 16. For this truth has been hidden from the world since the flood. So before the flood, everything was simple, it was in plain sight. The righteous generations of Adam to Noah, they knew the truth. But after the flood, things were hidden. And words have gone forth from my mouth to promise that all my revelation shall be revealed before the last days. And the work you are now undertaking is meant to expand and enhance the human ability to exercise free agency, in so much that they may freely choose which way they will go. In so much that they may freely choose which way they will go in the midst of the oppression of the tribulation times, whether they will listen to my spirit or not, so that in the midst of chaos, the knowledge and the faith will empower them to overcome severe oppression and be strong in the face of depravity. And the truth that can be brought will enable them not to only be led by my spirit, but this truth will allow them, by their understanding and my grace, to attain to those holy forces, to attach to those holy forces in creation that will confirm to them the joys of salvation and the wonders of my righteous redemption. And this is so that they may go softly past the tribulation times which are now upon them. So we know we are in the tribulation times, we are at the end of days. The tribulation times is a very long time, but now it's very important because we are towards the end of it. 17. And they must be able to expand the use of their agency so that by the intervention of their agency they can penetrate eternity with their request to influence their present moment in so much that the things they ask for in righteousness and what they decide will influence the course of the world, both from before their days and after it. And this way, the children of my right hand, can achieve stability in their lives and families while in the midst of chaos. So there is a very important message here. We do remember Enoch called the flood. So it says here, if we intervene with our agency, if we learn how to use our agency in righteousness, in holiness, we could send prayers or requests to influence our present moment or influence the course of the world we live in. 18. And in doing this, my people worldwide will ease my burden and calling forth the awareness of my presence that is in the midst of all things may in this way take place, and the great day of awakening will come and my arm will be revealed. So I'm currently working on the timeline of the Holy Scriptures. I don't want to say the Bible because it's not limited only to the Bible, all the books. But where we are right now, we are in the tribulation times, and he's saying, and calling forth the awareness of my presence in the midst of all things. The midst of all things, should I say, everything that surrounds us are the angels of God, the 24 elders, the angels above and the angels that are within us. So the 24 elders. Now we have to know that for the awakening to happen, we have to request it. For the flood to happen, Noah had to request it. And when we are requesting it, it's because we are seeing that the Messiah is having a hard burden. For Israel, while they were coming captive in Egypt, their prayers, remember what the angel said. He said, I have heard the cries of my people in Egypt, or their cries or their prayers have ascended to the heavens. They have requested for the Redeemer. That's why he appeared in the burning bush when he was talking to Moses. So they requested the arm of the Lord or the presence of the Lord to lead them out of captivity. And during our tribulation time, the great day of awakening also, which is upon us right now, we have to request it for it to be in full force. And once it's in full force, then the arm of the Lord will be revealed. 19. And thus they can be effective in their lives while the wicked flounder in the midst of chaos, and the righteous can be protected from the lies and falsehood, and they can act upon the truth, which is vital to bring the great day of awakening. So right now, lies and falsehoods. So we have the righteous can be protected from lies and falsehoods. So we have to establish in righteousness or in righteous the real truth or of the words of the gospel, and some falsehoods which are man-made stories from our cultures, from our religions. And then once we shed out all these lies and falsehoods, then we could act upon the truth And this truth is very important to help us to bring about the great day of awakening. And then the gathering will happen. But for this to happen, the chaos that is fundamental before the awakening is in full force is the climate change, the natural disasters, the plagues of diseases, the wildfires, the heavy rains and snows, and the distractions that we are seeing everywhere. You might not be seeing it where you are, but look outside, look everywhere else. And so I come to you now to open your eyes to the mysteries of the meaning of agency and salvation and righteousness, which is called the redemption. And I do this to bring knowledge and understanding to my people so that they can be empowered from on high. And I do this to reveal to my people an understanding of agency that will enable them to find the means to come together and build and be united, both with me and with the holy angels, the Ekodishe. And in this way, they can draw strength from my presence in the spirit of life in creation, so that they may be empowered to heal the sick, raise the dead, escape suffering, and to find safety and provisions for their loved ones. For the forces of evil are a gathering darkness, and the adversary wings his hand with delight and rejoices at his dominance among the people of the earth. And the fornication is like a wave of filthiness, and violence and death are his watchwords, and lies are his plans of attack. So remember, I say the Lord is bringing knowledge, understanding, the truth, to remove the lies and falsehoods. Who is the father of lies and falsehoods? The adversary, the evil forces, because their plan of attacks are lies. But be reassured because I have told my prophets the truth down through the ages, that my people will be delivered and my arm will be revealed, and the wicked will be no more, and the world they sought to build and preserve will vanish away. So now, having gone through this statement, let me go to what I needed to address. I'm in Melchizedek chapter 2, verse 140. The biggest thing about understanding the four directions is perception. How do you see yourself? Who are you? Where do you come from? Where are you going? And it came to pass that upon hearing this, that Enoch said is God the Father, the loving kindness, worshipped with great joy, and the smoke from his censer filled all eternity, and the worship of Enoch caused the righteousness of redemption to flow out and cover all creation. So if you read the Revelation 22, it talks about the redemption, the living water flowing out of the throne. Revelation 22, verse 1 to 4. If it's not Revelation 21, I think it's 22. If you read also, I think from Revelation 5, it will be talking about, I know certainly in Revelation 8, it will talk about the censers. But we know in Revelation, from the seat of God, there is smoke that comes out of it. So the smoke from his censer filled all eternity, and the worship of Enoch or the Father caused the righteousness of redemption to flow out and cover all creation. So where do we come from? That's one important question that we have to ask yourself. So where were we first created? We were first created in Elder. Elder is the home of Father. That's where we were first created. And then a spirit, and then we're also added to in Olam. Olam is where Adam and Eve were created before they were brought to live in the Garden of Eden. Then from the Garden of Eden, from Elder to Olam to Eden, there was no, the flesh that we see ourselves, surrounding ourselves, what we see as ourselves was not there. It happened after sin. That's when we took this form that we see, that we know. And then Eden changed and became, or were chased from Eden, if you may put that way. And then we came to dwell in the earth. So we are at the fourth station right now. And once the spirit that was created in Elder, in Olam, that resided in, was given the breath of life in Eden, once it leaves this body that we have, that we see, that we are accustomed to calling it as our being, as what we have become. When the spirit, soul, and soul separate from the body, it has to go where it came from. It get into the journey to go back to Eden, and from Eden, I bet it will go to Olam, and eventually we will be back to the Father in eternity. So if you understand this, then when we are looking in the four directions, when the word says are the direction that follows the Father, then you know your perception of understanding east is not in relative to the direction of the sun, because in Eden the sun does not have the same role as it has on the earth. Remember, in Eden, if you read the book of Adam and Eve, in Eden they didn't know darkness. There was no night. There was no morning. It was always light. So to them, east was a direction relative to where the Father is. And from there, if you move clockwise, to the right will be south. Move again will be at the west, and then north, and then you come back to east. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So let's go back to the directions now. So the directions, the origins of the directions, MELCHIZEDEK chapter 2, let's start from verse 25. And the Lord said to me, Anoke said, as our Father. So Anoke said means our Father. Anoke said as our Father now has four directions emanating from him, because he is influenced by the edge of eternity, and the direction follow him around. The directions what? Follow him around. So when you are saying east, you are pointing to the direction of the Father at that point in time. So now let's go to the east. And anything pointing from the Father to learning and comprehending his kind reproval in the process of becoming, or what comes to reassure one of his love, is the east to them. Like I said before, east, only in the earth, east is marked. Let me not say only, because I'm not sure. In the earth, where we exist in mortality, we are accustomed with the rising sun to mark the east direction, and west where the sun finishes its journey. But let's remember again, in Eden, the sun and the moon do not need to play any role because we are in the light of the Father and the Son of God. So east is not always marked by the moon and the sun. But east is a direction from the Father. So when you're in Eden or when you're on the earth, east, or when you're looking east, you have to know that you're looking at the direction, or east is to do with anything pointing from him to learning. It's when you're looking east, you are requesting learning from the Father. You are hoping, expecting to receive knowledge from his messengers to empower, to impact knowledge and understanding into you. You are hoping to receive messengers to help you comprehend, understand the words and the messages and the expectations from the Father. So we have what we call your purpose in creation. Why were you created? What is the assignment that is given to you to come and accomplish here? So that will be the learning, the angels that will be sending here to give you that knowledge, or remind you. And also reproval. Reproval is what? When we go astray. So the punishment will be coming through also from the east. So that knowledge or that responsibility will be coming from the easterly direction. That is to say, from Father himself. Also, we see that, or that comes to reassure one of his love. So assurance, or that, no, the Father is still with me, I'm still loved, I'm still cared for, or just a pat in the back to say you are doing well, you are in the right path. So the easterly direction will be attached to it. So the east direction is just like we associate east with light. So east, the light is the word. So it's associated with the light of God, the sun in our case. I'll skip the south for now. Let me go to the west. And anything that points from him and result in the feeling of forgiveness in your becoming and renewal and resurrection and wholeness and healing is the west to them. So, like I say, I asked, could you justify why you look eastward when you pray? Normally, usually. So, it's when you are seeking learning, you are seeking to comprehend, to understand something, and also you are seeking guidance, reproval, or associated with guidance from the realm of light. So we know when you are at church mostly, or when you are praying, you are there, you want to open the scriptures, you want to go through the words, and you look there to say, please help me understand. Help me connect to your spirit. So now when you are looking to the west, or if you were to pray looking to the west, west is associated with forgiveness. renewal. So if you had backslided in your faith, you could look west when you pray and say, Father, forgive me, please renew me. Resurrection. We know west normally is associated with death, right? Why? Resurrection is when you rise from the dead. And that's the only meaning that somehow we got from all this. I don't know who passed that one and why. That's the only thing that everyone seems to understand, death. But they fail to see that renewal also, even before you die, you could renew yourself through the processes. Say you had sinned, you had backslided in your faith. Therefore, you could look west, and west to you would be saying, I am amazing. I am putting myself in the pool of forgiveness, and I want this feeling of forgiveness to overcome me so that I feel renewed. I feel whole because I was sick in spirit or in flesh, and the healing that is engulfing me, or the healing that I'm requesting, or the prayers that I'm sending to request to be whole again in my spirit, in my faith. It means you could look west and you'll be justified as long as you know why you are looking west. Like I said, west to us is the place, the origin of darkness, because that's once the sun sets there, then the whole earth is covered with darkness. But have you ever wondered what the moon signifies? The moon signifies the truth of God, and the truth could renew you. East is represented by the sun, and the sun is the light of God, the knowledge, comprehending, assurance of love. The west, wholeness and healing, renewal and resurrection or death. But this is what I want us, especially with west, right? Like I said, we don't originate from the earth. Earth is the fourth station, like I showed you. There is creation, started in Elder, the home of God. And then we have Olam, where in Genesis chapter 1, everything that you see there, the seeds of the trees were created, the whales, the plants, the animals, but nothing had appeared in physical form. That place is what we call. So Genesis 1, the happenings, all those events took place in Olam. That's Genesis 1. And Adam and Eve are taken from Olam and placed in Eden. And from Eden, because of sin, we find ourselves here on the earth. So, as a spirit now, this is what I want to go through. Let's take west. Renewal, resurrection, wholeness and healing. So if you see yourself through all the stations of creation that you undergone, because we're at the last station, then you see yourself not as just the flesh. The flesh is just a package that enables us to exist in the earth, in mortality, to finish the assignment that we're given. So west, when it says renewal, when it says resurrection, it means now you are advancing to the next stage, and the next stage is the process of returning back to Eden. So to us, in this knowledge, in this faith, death is not the end. And when we say it's not the end, we mean like, it means we exit everything that is not contained within the flesh, the spirit, and the soul of man, if not contained in the flesh, cannot stay in the earth. It has to live on its journey back to Eden. It's a long process, but that's the next step. But do we even remember how we lived in Olam or in Elder? Then do you understand when the word is talking to Jeremiah, the Lord is talking to Jeremiah, say, I knew you before you were even created in the womb of your mother. So let's remember, the Lord is Messiah, is the Christ. And here I would say it's Messiah. Let's remember that Christ is the name we attach to him after he's been resurrected, mostly. And before, we say it's the Messiah, the one who was awaited. So Jeremiah 1, chapter 1, verse 4, then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before your mother was even pregnant, I knew you. And before thou came forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. I had already chosen you as one of those of the right hand. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. So this is your purpose of creation. This was the agenda why he was sent to the earth. This is the mission. So what is your mission? What is my mission? Do you know it? Have you achieved it? Are you in the right path? So do you need forgiveness in this case? Because you don't know, you have forgotten. We all knew. We all had all agreed to the mission that we were to come and do here before we even were formed in the bellies of our mothers, before we were in the flesh. So this is where we are. And in this case, if you have forgotten your mission of creation, why you were created, why you came to the earth, what assignment was given you, then you could look west in this case to seek forgiveness and to seek renewal from the God so that he could renew your thoughts and your spirit to recall, heal your body and bless it so that it could be restored unto your purpose of creation or created purpose before the Father. And as long as you understand that, your starting point is not here. That's why at times we say, we are just passing by, or we have sojourned in this world. We are visitors. We are aliens to this world. Because why? We originate from somewhere else. We originate in Elder. We originate in Olam. We originate in Eden through Adam and Eve before we are on the earth here in the sinful flesh. So then west is not the direction of the sun, but is the the direction of the setting sun or beginning of darkness, but it's where renewal, resurrection, healing, restoring of wholeness comes from. Because west, you have to understand, is the direction relative to the Father. So we are used to the south, living life, and we are accustomed to living life in the south direction. So living life, anything that went from him to living life. So this is living life is the process from through his process of becoming and his joys of his loving kindness. So the joys of life, the process of becoming, anything that went from him to living life. So now here we'll be talking about the stages of life, and that's the process of our spirit entering into the body from the moment we are conceived, as Jeremiah is saying, when we are young, the childhood, the adolescent, the middle age, the old age, the marriage life, the working life. So that's the process of becoming. And south is, are you enjoying that process of becoming? Are you enjoying your childhood? Are you enjoying your stage of being a baby? Are you enjoying the motherhood? Are you enjoying the fatherhood? Are you enjoying the responsibilities that are placed on you as an adult? Are they bringing joy? So that's the south, or the meaning of the south. And north is the anything that points from him to the hope of the harvest of salvation. So now here is when we are through the reproval that we got from the east. If we did not comply or gather anything useful from it, then we have to undergo processes that will force us to outgrow the process of living life, so that now we nourish our spirit to find salvation for it, because the flesh does not leave the earth. The soil goes back to the soil and the dust goes back to the dust. That's what it says in the book of Job. But the spirit, what have you gathered? Is it enough to present at the harvest of salvation? What would you present at the judgment day? Will that make you happy to have a happy homecoming in the process? Is it something that could help you in your process to going back to your process of salvation, or going back to the Father? So northly, or north direction mostly, is when now the hand of the Father try to push you through punishment or reproval also, so that you outgrow the flesh, so that your spirit become awake within you, start to seek understanding and knowledge of the Father, so that you start to understand you are a spirit and a soul that never dies. You are an eternal entity. You are a son of God that does not die. So I'll leave it here. This is page 47, chapter 2, Melchizedek, from verse 24. Go through the book, read for yourself. But the biggest thing is perception, the perspective of God, looking everything. The book addresses the perspective, looking at everything from the eyes of the angels.